Flournoy.
Here.
Gandy.
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda, Council? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the July 8, 2024 council meeting. Approval of the July 19th, 2024 payroll in the amount of $175,764.90. Acceptance of the Fairfield Volunteer Center minutes. Acceptance of the library board minutes. Resolution of salary adjustment for our telecommunications specialist. Resolution of employment in the Park and Recreation Department. Approval of liquor license for Due South. Approval of ACH payment to the Department of Revenue in the amount of $13,493.49. Approval of total claims in the amount of $813,232.69. We had two claims over $75,000. One to EBS for $81,434.82. That's for our healthcare premiums insurance. Yeah. And Woodruff Construction Step 3 for $420,922.56.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Moved by Gandy.
Second.
Second by Kness. Are there any questions?
Did you already say what the Woodruff Construction?
Step 3.
Oh, step 3.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. Sorry. Thank you.
I had a question also. In the Fairfield Volunteer Center minutes, it refers to signs. I'm not clear what signs are talking about.
Oh, those are the creating community signs
I see.
that Shanaz talked about a couple meetings ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's one at Chautauqua Park.
Oh, it's there now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know where else they were.
And the others on the CoLab building.
Oh, right.
They look good?
They look like they were supposed to look.
Okay. Thank
There you go. They look like they belong.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, all righty. No other questions? Well,
I did review claims and they all seemed in order.
Great, thank you. No other questions? We'll call the roll, please.
Gandy.
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Esty.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
So we have no public appearances tonight, so we're going to move on to resolution, action items, and ordinances. The first action item is consideration of demolition of 203 North 9th Street. And Melanie, are you going to talk about that?
203.
Yeah. Yeah, that works fine. So going through some of the old meeting minutes, this property has been discussed, but there was no motion taken, so we wanted to bring this to council to make sure we're all on the same page regarding this property. This property is owned by Scott Cox, and the judge's order is on the first page of the council attachment. So the city of Fairfield has been, I don't want to say ordered, but allowed to demolish the property should we wish to. There is liquidated damages or damages not to exceed $6,000 awarded to the city if we would choose to demolish this. What we have then on the second page is the estimated cost that the city would incur if we proceeded with this. And you know, as we've discussed before, that demolition and cleaning up things is not does not make the city any money. But this property has sat empty for a very long period of time. Has a lot of squatter issues, and I guess has been a nuisance for a very long time, which is why it's in the court process to begin with. So this is what we're bringing forward to you as for council action in order to move forward, or not.
So, I don't know if you can answer this question, but if you can, I think it's good information for the council. We had budgeted $60,000 for demolition of properties and such. And how much of that have we used? Just on the one property on 6th Street?
Right, so we budgeted a little bit more than that. So where we were standing was about $60,000. So
okay.
So where we have, and that was last fiscal year. And so we have nothing budgeted in this fiscal year, but the money does it doesn't really carry over, but it's still there. It's not gone.
Yeah.
So it will actually, like our books, we will do a budget amendment. It will look like we're negative, but we're not. The money's still in the bank account. It's Rebecca's much better at describing all of that, but the money is there.
We just
for it.
didn't budget it this year. that's
We
all.
didn't budget it, but
Got
the
it.
money's still there.
That's right.
Yes, and so we have about 60,000 available.
So
Okay.
is this a property that cannot be refurbished? We already like assessed that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's it had a fire in it, and then it had squatters in it that I think maybe caused a secondary fire and some additional damage.
Okay.
Another question about, isn't this property being used as a dumping ground for building materials and that kind of thing?
I can't speak to that. Doug or
From my understanding that they're adding additional
Well, my
construction and
question is,
demolition materials.
Are they
in
throwing
there.
organic material in there, and if they did, do we have to excavate that out
We have to dig it out.
and dispose of
We
it?
can't bury it.
right, and the demolition cost is hauling it off like we did with the 6th Street
But
house.
they don't take the foundation out, do they? Or do they?
They take out parts of it. Yeah, and it depends on how we specify it. With the 6th Street house,
But they'll have to excavate the basement if there's material in there that's organic.
And so this is just an estimate, right? And then so if we approve it, then it would go out to bid.
correct.
Okay.
Yep. And the ones that are the costs that we have already incurred are listed there with the actual costs. So we have already done asbestos testing, and we know that that's come back with no asbestos material in the house. So we do know that that part of the estimate is pretty solid.
I move that we approve the abatement of this property.
I second that.
Moved by Flournoy, second by Esti. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call a roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
I'm going to abstain.
Gandy,
And sorry, the reason abstaining?
Oh, I'm abstaining because I just arrived.
Okay.
That's why.
Thank
I
you.
didn't hear the discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Gandy,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Okay. Next action item, consideration of amendment to agreement with Shive-Hattery to scope of services for Highway 1 improvement projects.
Yeah. So the agreement, I want to go over all of Highway 1's costs, but the agreement, the action item tonight is for an hourly not to exceed contract of up to $40,000. Hourly not to exceed is whatever they charge, not to exceed up to $40,000. They will, unless we have a special audit on this project, they will not meet that amount. But that is where they got the $40,000, is if we do have to go through a special audit on this project. The reason for it is just the increase, the length of construction, the troubles that we had up front. We're hoping that we didn't have to go through this. And in fact, they just ran out of, reached the end of their budget. I mean, they made it through the end of June. So it'll really just be July and August that they would have any funds. And other than a few phone calls and wrapping up the punch list, there's not a lot that they're needing. So I'm not expecting that this to be anywhere close to this amount if we don't go through a special audit. Regarding overall Highway 1 costs, to say whether this was in the budget or not, the budget has changed so much with this project. It's hard to say whether it was in the budget or not, but I wanted to just give you kind of a brief summary of where we stand overall. So the overall project cost, and this is including the preliminary design, the preliminary work that was done, the design work, the land acquisition, and then the construction and everything up to this point. We do have just a little bit of land transfer, setting some property corners left to do. But where we stand is $6,852,482. Of that, 73% was DOT grants. 10%, and I have it down to the decimal point, but I'm not going to go that far. 10% was city cash, so that would have been surf money. There was some sanitary sewer funds, some water funds for different structures that were replaced, and those were the only city cash that was spent on it. 2% was city sidewalk funds, so that was the money that came in from the assessment all those years ago were used as matching funds for the trail grants. And then about 15% of the project will come from TIF, so the tax increment financing from the development that is occurring within that area. And that includes it's the commercial TIF, so that is Fun and Sun and the hotel and Casey's and everything that's happening in that area. So, you know, although it was a headache for a lot of people for a very long time, for 10% cash, I think that's a really great investment. And, you know, we still have a little bit to finish up paperwork-wise, but we're almost done. Well, at least city staff. I mean, you guys are done. City staff is almost done. So.
Question.
Yes, sir.
So the sidewalk fund is now depleted completely?
No, I don't. I did not check the balance, but I want to say there's 30,000.
I was gonna say more like 60.
Okay.
but
Yeah.
Sorry.
Maybe 60.
Between
Oh.
30 and 60.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I appreciate that breakdown because I've definitely had people ask me, why are we throwing all this money at it? And I'm saying, I think it's mainly DOT funded. So I appreciate knowing the specific numbers. Again, I'm sure you already talked to us about it. But
And I said it on the radio a lot, and I don't think I ever actually came to the council and said this was the percentage.
Yeah.
But
it's good to know.
so again, sorry. The actual action item is the amendment.
Yeah, so I'll make the motion to approve the amendment of the agreement with Shive-Hattery for scope of services for Highway 1.
Okay, moved by Flournoy, or is there a second?
Second.
Second by Gandy. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Thank you. Approved unanimously. Next action item is consideration of engagement letter with Ahlers Cooney for Vastu Partners LMI Housing Development Project. I think this is similar to what we've had before, correct?
Yeah.
Anything new and different here?
No.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Moved by Gandy,
Second.
second by Flournoy.
Where,
Any
where will this go?
discussion?
Reef feed.
That's the same location as Reef. Because they've already started building over there, right? But
I
that's
believe.
not, that's not LMI.
Well, I know they're doing cleanup. I don't know if
They
they've
got
actually
3 buildings in, I think,
on that
in
portion.
the back, yeah.
Okay.
The reef grain area.
But this is
Yeah.
gonna be in addition to that.
Yes.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second to approve the engagement letter for Vastu Partners. So no other discussion? Please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Okay, under the mayor's report, I'm gonna really defer here to Paul, as he went up to Des Moines for the Main Street. I was unable to go, and so he's gonna give us an update on that.
Thank you, Mayor. So we, on Thursday, July the 11th, a group of Fairfield citizens went to Des Moines to the Iowa Economic Development Authority building. I think it's also the Iowa Housing Authority building and the Iowa Finance Authority building, a nice modern new building. But we gave a presentation to a advisory council for the Main Street communities. If you remember, Minnie McAdams came before the council a couple of months ago and spoke about Main Street communities as a possible investment for the city and the city of Fairfield and other community engaged organizations to help beautify and revitalize downtown Fairfield. So this is a project or a community project that's, I believe, nationwide. There are a number of cities in Fairfield that have been designated Main Street communities. Actually, they're all around us, to the east of us, the west of us, the north of us, and the south of us. So I named these. We all spoke a little bit at this presentation. So we have Mount Pleasant and Ottumwa and Keokuk and Washington, Bloomfield. These are all Main Street communities. So it made sense, in our opinion, that Fairfield should be next. Typically, apparently, it takes 2 presentations before you're chosen as a Main Street community. So this is our first presentation. We kind of rushed the application because the president of the chairman of the Fairfield Chamber of Commerce, Denise Hall, found out about this through a video, and she and Mindy put together a very nice package in terms of an application. But it was something we did kind of on an expedited basis. So the 5 people went there, or 6. The former mayor, Ed Malloy, Amy Vetter, Minnie McAdams, as I spoke, Doug Reinert, our city administrator, and Denise Hall. So we had 20 minutes to speak. There were 5 cities. You had 20 minutes to speak before this council, and they would choose 2. So we gave our presentation, which I thought was very good, and they were very pleased with it when they came back to us with their response. But unfortunately, we weren't one of the ones chosen. But they gave us some very good feedback. So I suspect the next time there's a Main Street community evaluation, which will be, I think, in 1.5 years or 2 years, I think Fairfield will be right at the top of the list. We've learned a lot, and I think we'll gain from that when we go at it again, which I think we will. So we came back having learned a lot, not successful in being chosen as a Main Street community, but I think in the future we have a very good chance of being one of those 2 cities that's chosen.
Do you know which 2 cities were picked?
I'm going to give an Elizabeth Esty type answer, and the answer is, what does it matter?
Sorry?
What does it matter? Why do you care?
Because when I learn something wrong by talking to you.
Actually, the truth is.
Don't worry about it is what I usually
Oh yeah, that's what you say.
Paul.
Right, that's true. That's true. That's what I mean. The truth is, Doug, I don't.
2 lawyers argue with each other.
The truth is, I don't know.
depends.
I don't know. It wasn't Fairfield, I believe. I don't know the other 4. So I'm not even going to say, but
Is there a cap on how many cities can be involved in this program?
They told us that they would choose 2, but if they're really an exceptional presentation, they'd go as far as 3.
But there must be already people in the program.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's what I was asking, the cap. Total cities involved.
Oh, I don't think there's a cap in cities, but the cap maybe
You
each
just add
year.
people when they think it's appropriate.
Right. I mean, I think the next time around, we will probably draw on the experiences of the cities around us who've been chosen Main Street communities, because we'll have more time to prepare our application. I know the mayor was going to go, but obviously things kept her away at that point. But I think the next time around, we'll have a lot. This experience and the time we have available to put together application will definitely increase our chances.
Yeah, I think there'll be work we can still do even between now and then.
Right.
We can move forward on our own certain things, so we'll just forge ahead.
Yeah,
I think we discussed it, the original like downtown revitalization when we were discussing this project. We were saying that we do have the resources. A lot of it's just getting the buy-in from the community, which I think is what Main Street's really good at, and kind of helping us organize what we need and sorting out what we already have available. So
Yep.
possible we can move
Right. Our
forward.
point was we'd like Main Street to be a good partner, but we don't need them.
Right.
We'd like them to be a partner, and maybe they will be in the future. We're going ahead anyway, and we're doing things anyway. And we told them about that, and they were pleased. So they are suggesting maybe there's something called an assessment, a downtown assessment they can do before the next application, which they suggest we might undertake, or I guess hire them to do. So they are going to be involved, but just not to the level of us being a Main Street community just yet.
Great, thanks. The only thing I'm going to say is, and we're going to hear about Ragbri pretty soon, but I just hope it's a safe and fun ride for everybody on Friday, and be lots of entertainment, and should be a fun day. So.
I'm going to text my friends that are riding. I forgot to text.
So, and there's no city attorney report since Mr. Morrissey isn't here tonight. So we will move right on to committee and board reports, environmental and franchise.
Thank you, Mayor. We met last week and we had 2 agenda items, and neither one of them is requiring any council action tonight, but I'll just kind of summarize what we discussed. The first was, you probably all recall when our sustainability coordinator came to the council requesting money for their Resilient Action Committee volunteers. That was sent to our committee, and we discussed that last year. For those of us who were here, you may recall that we did give $8,000 in funds to the RAC for their volunteers. So they're finishing up that 11-month term in August. After some discussion, we requested from the sustainability coordinator that at that point they come and talk to us about what has been completed, so we can determine if we want to continue to give money for this project. We also discussed reaching out to other stakeholders to see if anyone else would be interested in donating the funds, just because we've already given $8,000 and it's not clear what has been completed in this 11-month period. So I think it'll be really helpful for the council in order to decide whether or not we want to give some more money. I also think it was a really beneficial conversation because there was some discussion about the Fairfield Forever plan and implementing it, and there was, you know, sometimes it can feel like there are many different bodies working parallel to each other without a lot of conversation between them. So I think that this is one of those cases. So I think that was really beneficial to have that conversation. But Faith will be coming to the council next month and presenting on what the volunteers have completed. The other agenda item was the compost site. And Joe Hurd is not able to be here tonight, so that's why it's not an agenda item, but I think it will be on our agenda for the next council meeting. Our committee's recommendation is that the compost site be closed. As many of you recall, last year we moved from having it open all the time to limited hours to see if we could kind of cut down on the amount of waste that is collected there and maybe discourage some of the contractors or the people who are abusing the site from doing so. That hasn't had any effect. It's still costing between $30,000 and $50,000 for the city on an annual basis. Joe's request is that we close the site, and that's what our committee decided we would recommend to council. However, Joe's going to be here next meeting to discuss it further. There are going to be some nuances, I guess some details that we're going to have to sort out. For example, Joe offered maybe 6 brush pickups a year, but then we also need to talk about collecting leaves and grass as well, because right now it's just brush. So like I said, that'll be on our agenda for the next meeting. Joe will be here to answer any questions, but that is our committee's recommendation at this time.
So that means it wouldn't be composted, but would be collected and burned?
Well, we could still, compost it, and Joe mentioned that he would still be open to loading up compost trucks and mulch trucks as long as that material is still available and we have so much of it.
Right, but the new material would not be.
Right, I don't believe so. But again, that's one of those details that we probably have to sort out, because right now they just collect brush, but I think that his proposal is that he also collect leaves and grass.
He would rather put the money into fuel and move the trucks than to have what is currently happening with the large trees that can't.
Yeah, we won't get the grinder anymore. That's
a big expense.
Right. The brush that they do pick up in the future would be burned, I presume.
Well, yeah, I'm not quite certain. I don't know
think
that we
he's
addressed
still
that.
sorting all that out of what this would really look like going forward.
What we'd really like is, and obviously this is out of our hands, but for some private entity to take over the compost and mulch site. And our sustainability coordinator was there for that discussion, so I do think that might be a really good use of some of those RAC volunteers to kind of identify if there are any options or any other private companies who'd be interested in taking you over for profit.
Okay, great, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Doug, have you gotten any comment back from John about the idea I floated for fines using the compost site?
We talked
in a
about
manner
that.
We have discussed it, but he has not communicated with us for a while because he's had some other things going on. But
Okay.
yeah, he said that he received it, and he's going to go over it and talk to us about it.
We talked about that as well, but that would require either putting up first of all, writing an ordinance, putting up a camera, or having someone there on site who could then find people, and then then we take them through the court process, and sometimes it's just throwing good money after bad.
My approach was, if we can make it a special assessment and put it on any property that they own in the city limits of Fairfield, and make it collectible and paid as property taxes.
But
If they don't pay it, then you can sell it at tax sale.
And what if they don't own property here? Which is a concern. Joe said that there are quite a few people from out of town, because we're like the only place that has this free compost site. People just come from out of town and dump large trees.
Right. I think at this point, though, they're not our main culprits. I mean, the people that are utilizing it in the way that they are own multiple properties here in Fairfield, so. I think it's just an avenue to discuss.
Yeah, well,
before we shut it
certainly,
down.
be thinking of questions and
Mhm.
solutions as we talk about it again, next round. So, great. Public safety and transportation.
We have a long list, so bear with us here as we go through. We talked about a number of intersections and just different issues. Someone new to our community got to experience the almost blackout the other weekend of the 13th and 14th when the lights went out, and so driving, and that concerned him. He had not been through an experience like that before. What he was asking is if we could have, at least a red light flasher with a backup power pack. And so that was discussed, but it was also discussed of the expense and the cost of doing that throughout the whole city. So he left our meeting and did research and sent me a link. So I have more information to dig into that afterwards. But our recommendation right now is that as the city makes upgrades to our stoplights, to consider the potential for any backup power source for when our stoplights and would go out like that again, that there would be something that would at least alert the motorists when it's just totally dark and intersections don't have a stop sign then. And that the departments take such inventory and be equipped with temporary devices that could be put out. I was asking what that was like on that evening because it happened at dusk, which was interesting as well. And it went on for at least 2 to 3 hours, depending on where you lived in the city and how soon your area received electricity back. Just what that would have been like for city crews and the police department. At that point, they knew that the electric company had been contacted and were expecting it to come back on, but they were watching and what they could do. Again, making that assessment whether it was necessary to be moving out temporary items or not, or just giving patrol at the intersections. The next one was our conversation with Trina Smalley, which you all took part in. So we looked at those intersections specifically that she was talking about along 6th Street with Washington Avenue and Monroe Avenue. She was asking for stop signs and or if there are yield signs already, that stop signs would be in replacement of them. We also looked at Main Street and Burlington Avenue and that longer walk that pedestrians have to get safely across before traffic is turning left. Those two lights are happening simultaneously, and so drivers are not often aware that the pedestrians have a longer journey before their own light changes, and they're not often letting the pedestrians finish their walk before they come through. And she was asking if maybe push buttons could also be put at that intersection and 2nd and Burlington. So one of the things that we did look at as far as 6th Street and 4th Street also is one of those through streets that is more extended with a number of intersections. We are going to encourage more letters going out to individuals about the right-of-way and vegetation that they may have planted there. We don't care that people have planted flowers, but yet the foliage that they've augmented does hinder sight lines as well. We have a couple intersections where there are 2 trees at some of these major intersections that we're looking at that is no different than the other one that we're looking at down on Harrison, where it's blocking a view. And so we're just going to encourage more mailings that way, and increasing the site distancing, putting more notices out on Facebook about this, encouraging the removal of that vegetation. You know, if they want to keep the plants, get it moved during this fall when things can be transplanted into a different place in their lawns. If they don't, because it is in the right of way, then the city would remove it with no cost to the homeowners. The second thing is, as we looked at Burlington and Maine, we are considering, and that's our recommendation for council, that we would consider putting in the design work and capital for the crosswalk to go to the east side of that intersection. So from the park area south, and that then freeing up more the traffic on the left-hand side, making the turn, that we feel that the pedestrians and heavy traffic could be moving more safely at that other side of Main Street at that particular intersection. So we're increasing site distance issues, and then also increasing awareness. And then the second thing at that intersection is asking again, working with the DOT to enhance and locally enhance the timing on those lights. That particular one is tough because of the 1 block increment that we have with 2nd Street and the traffic coming from there. And because it's a state highway, we don't want traffic backed up through 2nd and Burlington. And so that's why we were thinking if we move pedestrian traffic, it's something to consider. And so that's what we're looking into. Going on, if we did that work, we would recommend that City Council remove the node that's on the southwest corner of the center square and install that crosswalk there. The next one would be the sight lines and the parking issues on Grimes Avenue and North 2nd. I received 3 emails on this, and I myself drove there, and there was a very large brand new dump truck parked on 2nd just off of Grimes to my right, because I was coming from the west, and it completely blocked any view of any northbound traffic if I was making a left-hand turn into that other lane. There were others, commenting too. So one of our recommendations is, as we discussed it today, is that we would remove parking on both sides of that block between Hempstead and Grimes to alleviate that, because it also affects the other side. Because if they just move to the other side of the street with this heavy equipment, it's not changing the dynamics then from the other side. And so that's where we went for that one. On Highway 1 South, the city ordinance could be changed from Fillmore to Libertyville Road, or needs to be changed, I shouldn't say could be. Our recommendation to council is we limit parking in this area where we've added new curb, so we don't encourage semis to be parking to stop at Casey's along that roadway, or even the public using it then as parking up against that curb, and that no parking signs would be posted along there, so that we keep sight lines open along the whole avenue.
So Judy, are you going to have Mr. Morrissey write an ordinance, or Melanie's going to do that? Okay, that we'll bring back?
Yes.
Great, okay.
What she brought today was the state ordinance, but we do have the privilege of the city to enhance it for our own use.
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
what we are recommending there,
Okay,
yes.
so that'll come back in ordinance form for the council.
Mm-hmm. So as we just addressed, not only the safety for the pedestrians, because we do have quite a few people in town who do not have their license and they walk. But we also had a lot of discussion of just about aggressive drivers. And so we do want to do more of a public education campaign and let drivers in our area know that in Iowa there is a new definition as of July 1 of what entails a pedestrian, and that includes skateboarders and people with strollers and people in wheelchairs or electric chairs. So we know that we need just more awareness there, but also just being aware that there are quite a few people out walking and keeping our minds on the driving and other things. So more of a campaign that way.
Hey Judy, does that include those electric scooters too? Yes? Okay.
They're in the crosswalk. That's
Mhm.
Not electric bicycles.
So would
I don't
adding,
think. I don't.
know better.
Well, no, I don't.
would adding some signage like we had on Burlington at the mid block coming south of the square over on Burlington and Main, would that be useful? You see a lot of this when I put my bike across the northern states here. I saw in almost every city a lot of signs like that, pedestrians have the right of way.
Yeah. So
Vehicles must stop.
we discussed the mid-block crossing and how that signage is currently not there because it's been destroyed a couple times. So if you do come across another city that you've traveled through or you have family in and you think that that's a really great example, we definitely look at it. We've talked about during our meeting, we talked about maybe some recessed reflectors for nighttime. I jokingly said, because it was the best thing I could come up with, is like maybe for Art Walk, the council members could escort citizens across just to kind of like bring awareness to the crosswalk. I mean, because I really, I don't have any ideas at this point, but maybe talking, maybe we can do like give away some chamber bucks with, if some kids come up with a good ad campaign or something. I don't have any ideas at this point because anything that we
I
can
thought
do.
of that on the way
Yeah.
home, like, why don't we get the videographers at the high school involved in?
Or MIU with the
Yeah.
clubs there. So we'll, but if you, again, the big thing is if you come across another community that, again, relatives or you've been to a larger city and you want us to look at it, we will. But the signage on Burlington has been taken out. Not on purpose. A driver purposefully did it, but we did not take it out.
We also talked about maybe specifically at the crosswalk of Main and Burlington, maybe allowing for pedestrian crossing before changing the light too.
Yeah.
And like maybe researching that and what that might look like for traffic patterns and everything,
I'm gonna see if there's a way to have different timing depending on the time of day. Because the concern we've always had with that is if we increase the pedestrian walk time, that it decreases, if we increase the pedestrian walk time, it also increases the amount of traffic that backs up on Burlington. But if we had, if we increase that pedestrian walk time during non-peak traffic times, would that help? Maybe it doesn't help at noon, but City Hall staff can attest that we have people walking all day long. There's not necessarily peak pedestrian time on that area. I don't know if our traffic signals can physically do that. So I'll talk with Joe when he returns and our technicians to see if we can physically do something with that. And then of course we'll talk with DOT on getting that approved.
Judy, I just had one more question.
Yes, sir.
Aside from the trees, you said vegetation was blocking. This is common at a lot of intersections in town, but are they, the ones that are in the right of way, are they in violation of our 24-inch height limit? Is that the reason that?
Yeah. The 24-inch height, and then I'll double check to see whether it's written in our code, but the 7-inch vertical clearance for a pedestrian.
I think that's state code.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Becca. That's state code. So it's either direction. You know, limbs hanging down
Right.
is just as much a problem. I don't know if any of you noticed on 2nd Street, just out here, that they trimmed up those bushes, and it's really easy to get out of the alley right here by City Hall now. So it looks wonderful.
But we were taking in consideration children just moving in
Yeah.
those areas too, you know, where a child can just dart out quickly, and if there's foliage and stuff there, they wouldn't necessarily see that.
And taking a look at no parking here to corner, making sure that those signs, sometimes signs get hit and they don't always get put back, or they get removed for some construction and they don't always get put back, they get rusted. So just making sure that those have gotten put back, especially on those through streets.
Right.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I did notice when I was typing this up that I did miss something that Trina also asked us, and that was to have conversations with business owners going west, that sidewalks would be encouraged in that direction. So I'm going to put that back on the next time we have a public safety meeting, because I did miss that one. We didn't, of all the things that we talked about today, we didn't talk about the people that are in the wintertime, especially because of ice and other things pushed out into the roadway. The next thing is that we talked about was the installation of a traffic arm or a barricade. The Fairfield School District just asked if they could do this at Broadway and D Street. It's a request to allow to place a barricade adjacent to their do not enter sign when Broadway is one way for the buses to be going through. And the arm barricade would be approximately 4 feet long and will not block westbound traffic. The hours of the one-way would be 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. The barricade and the purpose of it is to help enforce the one-way, and school staff will be responsible for the barricade blocking the south side with a one lane open. So we recommend that the committee allow the Fairfield School District to place the barricade at that intersection at those hours and to facilitate the bus traffic flow. Then, as we talked about the plantings in the roundabout, the beautification committee submitted a proposal design and plant legend for the center of Highway 1 roundabout. The plants that they are recommending are prairie dropseed, lemon daylily, blue wondercat mint, maiden grass, and Chinese juniper. Melanie, as a city engineer and giving oversight on this whole project, advised the plants can be approved, but no limestone rocks that were part of their design, because we don't want anything bigger than 6 inches to avoid further damage if a vehicle were to go up onto that area. We're not worried about the plants as much, but if there were larger sized rocks, as they were recommending, it would be dangerous for someone who might have lost control already to have another impact going for their vehicle or themselves. So to give permission to the beautification committee to go forward, except for the limestone outcroppings that have the dimensions bigger than 6 inches that could potentially damage a vehicle. And then our final was the restriction or limitation of how many animals. We're still talking about the actual wording here, and this is where we're going to need John's expertise, because if we say house or household, that already starts getting interesting. Or if we say living unit, that's different than for an apartment building because of the multiple units in that particular type of dwelling. But we are saying 4 dogs per living unit according to the code definitions, just so that we can begin somewhere and go from there. And if you have any more questions on that, I think we that's just going to be an ongoing discussion. What we just wanted to do today was choose a number and then go from there of what we feel like most people can handle. And then also, I'm sorry, I didn't put this in my recommendation, that there would then also be a variance opportunity for those who are handling theirs well, and if, but then it would be like on a permit basis for so long, and then if they're still handling it well, then that permit would be renewed, because that gives us opportunity to make some changes if it appears that they're just not able to take care of the added numbers. And the neighbors, that's what we were also looking at, because the neighbors have to go through a lot of hoops to take on one in the neighborhood who might be unable to have the numbers there, because it's a sensory thing, it's sound, it's odors, it's the digging issues, property values, a lot of considerations there going into that. So again, if you have any questions.
So do you want to vote on any of these things? The arm at the Broadway, does that have to come back by ordinance too? No?
Do you want to go them one by one, or?
Well, it sounds like, I wrote down two that you,
Okay.
that potentially you want a vote on from the council, which
Okay.
is the arm on Broadway for the school and the roundabout plantings.
Just for roundabout, but I don't think for the school,
The
right?
school,
Did
we were
need-
just recommending they go ahead and,
It's up, I guess it's up to council.
yeah, but if you would like a vote, we can do that.
Well, I guess,
Yes.
I think it's worth a council vote myself, just to make sure that everybody's on board, or
Yes.
nobody has something to add,
Right.
negative or in the different direction, and something to consider. So let's take that arm on the south side of Broadway to be up those 2 times a day when the buses are moving, and it makes sense. I understand there are problems. Particularly if you don't know the community, people will go down that street when they shouldn't. So I guess, Judy, if you'll make a formal motion.
Okay. We recommend we allow the Fairfield School District to place the barricade at Broadway Avenue and D Street from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. and from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. to facilitate school bus travel.
Okay, great. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Esty. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, great. Unanimously approved. I think that's great. And then the roundabout plantings, if you just want to, the design was moving around here, so I think everybody's seen it.
Great. I'm looking for it where I had it in my notes, sorry. There we are. We recommend to give permission to the Beautification Committee to move forward with the Fairfield Highway 1 Roundabout Plantings Project, except the limestone outcropping having dimensions greater than 6 inches, which would potentially damage a vehicle.
Okay, is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Roe. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, great. So that approved unanimously as well. Okay. Moving on to the city administrator report.
The lead line survey is going well, but we're very behind. And Tyrell is actually working on Saturdays, maybe Sundays. We've got now the full-time employees helping getting this done and having the data entry done. We're doing everything that we can. They will be in your house for less than 5 minutes. They just have to go and check. But it can also make this thing go a little bit faster if we go online and do the survey. We don't even have to stop by. But this particular survey is a shall, not a should. We have to get this turned in. We've only got, I think we have half of our time has been allotted and used, and we're still very behind. So if you have someone knocking on your door, Tyrell actually has Melanie and I's phone number in case there's some issues, because not typically, unless you're fire police, you don't have city workers working on the weekend unless there's some big thing happening. But we've really got to get this done, so they're doing a good job, but it still continues. Wanted to let the council know that Natel has been purchased by Elevation Broadband. They have equipment on the reef grain towers, and they're tearing those down. So they will be relocating that equipment to the water tower. We've gone over the contract. They were giving us a courtesy and letting us know that they're going to take 2 satellite dishes up to the top of that tower so that they can make sure that they have enough equipment for the entire city of Fairfield. They're working on that. Just wanted to give you a heads up in case you see people walking around up there. 405 South D Street again has a judgment against it and for the city to abate, and we'll be having these conversations of what to do with this property. But the property owner, I've been in this house and it has had the load-bearing walls removed and it is folding in on itself, which is a problem. There has been interest from contractors that potentially could save this house, but they have to put in the things that requires. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a contractor, but there has to be something done with that property, and the property owner has talked about donating it to the city and having us, move forward with it in the very near future. Let's see, Lisco has contacted myself, and they will be putting in portable Wi-Fi. They won't be adding any infrastructure to the park downtown, but as RAGBRAI comes in, it's going to overwhelm our systems, and so they've offered to do that for us, which I greatly appreciate, which will be, we've actually had discussions with citizens that was said that they would like to have permanent Wi-Fi in that park and other parks as well, and this might actually be something that we can look at as a test site and see if that's something we can do in the future. And then I spoke to Leah Connor last week with Engage Fairfield. The Chamber of Commerce is hosting a job fair at MIU on July 29th at 12:30 to 4 p.m. And we are talking about taking cards. I think myself and someone else might be going with me to talk about the job openings.
Water department?
Maybe water, and I don't know who else, but we'll be setting up a booth, and we're wanting to take cards. I don't know if we'll get it done in time with QR codes that people can actually take the card and scan it, and it takes them straight to our website to apply for jobs. And then lastly, I was asked to add on that City Hall will be closed to foot traffic on Friday. We'll still be open, but we're concerned about the safety with the pedestrian car bike interface with RAGBRAI on Friday. So we'll be here taking payments over the phone, but we will have staff here, but we're going to try to keep people out so that we're not on these busy intersections working, trying to get through that day, and then it'll be here and gone. That's all I have.
Okay, great. Project update.
And by citizens who wanted Wi-Fi in the parks, you mean my son and his gaming friends, right?
That's
I'm
right.
pretty sure that's who you
Right
talk
on.
to, right? Yeah. You always say, ask the teenagers what they want, though, because they're the next generation. Okay, project update. Just 2 things to talk about tonight. Wednesday is a very big day for Crow Creek Bridge. The bridge deck is getting poured. They're going to start at 6 or 7 a.m. It's going to take about 4 hours to pour the whole thing. Werner's going to be out there, so looking forward to some great videos and photography, but that's kind of the last major step. After that, they pour the barrier rails, or what most people would call the guardrails. So the edges of the bridge they're going to pour that next. While that is happening, then another crew is going to be pouring the roadway that comes up to the bridge. So I'm not going to say that it's going to open early, but maybe September rather than October. Definitely won't happen before school starts, but things are looking very good. And I guess that's assuming Wednesday goes well. But things are going very well out there, and Wednesday will be a very big day. So that will be great to have that part done. The other thing is the fire station. We did get an estimate or schedule from Klingner, Public Safety Committee. Maybe clear your schedules towards the end of August. We should be getting plans, final plans for review towards the end of August, with plans ready for bid in September and getting bids in October. The goal is to have a contractor under contract by Thanksgiving. So we'll have a little bit of details. They are going to be picking out the colors and the bathroom fixtures and all that kind of stuff. Brett and I don't need to go to Home Depot and pick out all that stuff. So that will be great. But there'll be some of those things just to go over before we finalize all of that. And then I forgot to bring it with me, but city staff has, we now have ID cards. I sent council an email about getting you guys ID cards. So if you want, I can take a picture tonight. Otherwise, you can send me a picture. The goal is for employees such as our meter readers to wear these. Tyrell has one with him. The rest of the city staff will just have them with us. We're not going to be wearing them, such as hospital employees, but our badges look very similar to the ones that the hospital employees wear. They're formatted similarly. They have the City of Fairfield logo, our picture, and then department. I can show you mine. But we hope that a lot of our employees are wearing them on Friday as we're directing traffic for RAGBRAI. Which takes me to my the next item, RAGBRAI update. I just had Rebecca put a link to a couple of the maps. They've been out on Facebook, but for people who haven't seen them yet, the bike route is in orange, coming in from Libertyville Road, on to Fillmore, 4th, to the Square, Broadway, B, and then Kirkwood. On Liberty Drive and Kirkwood, we are going to advise drivers to use caution as they're traveling through those, so we're not going to be closing that down. On Fillmore and B and 4th, we're not going to tell drivers, no, you can't go through there, but it is likely going to be so busy that you're not going to be able to get to your home. There is no parking along the route during the day of, no on-street parking. And it's going to likely be congested. And so for everyone's sanity, just kind of try to avoid those areas. I guess I'm speaking to the public, not to you individually. There will be some no parking signs going up in the next couple days that say no parking along the route. The downtown area, Broadway from 4th to B, and then Briggs from 4th to B, will be completely closed to vehicle traffic the day of. There's some downtown areas that are closing noon for setup. Again, the idea, so on this map, there's an orange dash area. Those are the areas that are completely closed to vehicle traffic. So Highway 1 is going to be open. Obviously, we'll have police and fire at those two intersections helping the bicyclists get across. But those are closed to vehicles completely. We have contacted landlords, and the chamber's contacted businesses and the people living in that area, letting them know it's completely closed. Let's see. And then the other thing is Friday trash pickup for the southwest area of town is going to be on Thursday. So if you live in that area, that is going to be Thursday rather than Friday, so the trash trucks are not out on that area of town. And then finally, the barricade, like I said, no parking signs are going to start going up in the next couple days. It says no parking Friday, July 26th. And then some of the barricades are gonna start going up and getting set on the corners so that they can easily come out on Friday. So people, because there's no rain expected in the next couple days, some of this stuff is gonna start coming out in the next few days. So people will start to see some things, but most of it's not gonna happen until Friday. Okay, any questions?
And also, I noticed that, and I think the city has something to do with it, the streets downtown, the weeds are gone.
Yes,
The weeds are gone.
Our street department has been very busy beautifying the
Sidewalks.
area, taking care of some weeds. They have been painting. I believe they are working on Highway 1 this week as well. And the sewer department is fixing the concrete, is patching the concrete on B Street. So the B Street Railroad crossing is closed this evening, and then tomorrow, because I had a slight moment of panic this morning, that was not fixed. But yes, they are all of the departments are working very hard getting ready for RAGBRAI, and there are lots of volunteers working hard as well, but I'm very proud of the crews doing their part to get ready as well.
I mean, you have 25,000 guests, you know, you kind of spruce things up.
Yeah.
That's good. We really
Yeah,
appreciate
but
it.
someone asked me who was working in the downtown, and I said, yeah, the streets department's weed whacking the sidewalks. And after I said that, I was like, yeah, that doesn't sound weird at all. But, all right, any questions?
If people want to volunteer, are there still volunteer opportunities available? Does anybody know how people could go about volunteering?
Contact Lindsay at the chamber.
Okay.
I know that all of the assigned spots are filled. But for example, for traffic control, we've got someone that is going to relieve the traffic control people throughout the day, allow them a moment to rest, a bathroom break. And so even if it is someone just to fill in for traffic control for half an hour while that volunteer takes a break, there will be some fill-in spots, and Lindsay at the chamber is handling the volunteers.
Cool.
And they said anybody can come on Thursday when they're doing the pre-setup,
Yeah.
because they'll just need a lot of hands all the way around, so.
Great, thanks. All right, if that's all, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Toohill.
Second.
Second by Esty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great, thank you, meeting adjourned, thanks for your time, everybody.